All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we've got this fantastic story about a team of customs officers who ran into a serious, risky problem. But instead of waiting for someone else to fix it, they built their own solution, something they started calling a digital talisman to keep them safe.
So picture this. You're a customs inspector. Your job is to peer into these massive shipping containers, and you often use a powerful handheld X-ray scanner to do it. But using that tool day in and day out comes with a big risk, a hidden one. Any guesses what it might be?
Yep, it's radiation, the kind you can't see, can't smell, can't feel. For these officers, it's a constant threat in the background of their daily work. And without the right kind of monitoring, they could be exposed over and over again and have no idea. Which, naturally, brings us to the gear they were actually given to protect themselves.
And this, right here, is where our story really kicks into gear. It all starts with the official equipment that was supposed to be the solution, but was actually creating a whole host of new problems.
Okay, so inspectors get two main pieces of kit. You've got the X-ray scanner on the left, that's the tool for the job, and on the right you have a commercial radiation detector, basically a personal dosimeter to measure how much radiation they're being exposed to. This little box is supposed to be their safety net. The only trouble was, this safety net was just full of holes.
These standard-issue detectors were a mess for 4 big reasons. First, the price tag. We're talking tens of thousands of new Taiwan dollars for each one. Super expensive. Second, they were so easy to lose. Imagine trying to keep track of a small device inside a dark, jam-packed shipping container. Third, they were delicate. The heat, the humidity, the constant vibration of a busy port, it just wrecked the electronics. And finally, they were, well, kind of dumb. All they could do was beep. They couldn't log data, they couldn't spot trends, they couldn't connect to anything.
So, faced with tools that just weren't cutting it, the team over at Taiwan's Kaohsiung Customs Office did something pretty amazing. Instead of just complaining or asking for more money, they rolled up their sleeves and decided to build their own solution from the ground up. And this is how their digital talisman was born.
They gave it the official name of the pocket-sized AI IoT radiation detection platform. Now, I know that's a total mouthful, but it perfectly explains what they made. It's a tiny, custom-built device that uses AI to be smart and the Internet of Things, or IoT, to stay connected. It was a solution designed by the very people who would be using it every single day.
But you know, the team didn't just see this as another piece of tech. They called it their Hu, which translates to a talisman, a protective charm. I love that. It really shows you their mindset. They weren't just building a gadget. They were crafting something to genuinely watch over their friends and colleagues and protect them from a very real, invisible danger.
Okay, so how on earth did a team of customs officers pull this off? Well, they brought this incredible maker mindset to the job. It was this perfect blend of DIY passion and serious engineering. And it just goes to show you that innovation inside the government doesn't have to be this slow, clunky thing.
And don't think for a second this was some weekend hobby project. No way. They were total pros about it. First, they designed it with the user, their own colleagues, at the absolute center of every decision. Then they put it through the ringer with brutal, real-world stress tests. And finally, they got it out in the field and used the feedback to keep making it better and better.
The technology behind it is just so cool and surprisingly modern. The core hardware? It was built with cheap, off-the-shelf Arduino kits, the same kind of stuff hobbyists and makers use. They used IoT and Bluetooth to zap data straight to a smartphone app. For the brains, they even used ChatGPT to help them write and clean up their code. And they used something called Robotic Process Automation, or RPA, to automatically log all the data, which means no more human error. But look, for a safety device, being clever and cheap isn't enough, right? It has to actually work. It has to be scientifically accurate. So the team took their homemade gadget to the highest authority in the land, Taiwan's Nuclear Safety Commission. And the result? It passed with flying colors. It was officially validated, meeting all the national standards for accuracy.
And once it was validated, well, that's when we get to the really jaw-dropping part, the payoff. The results of all this hard work were, honestly, they're kind of staggering, especially when you start looking at the numbers.
First up, the cost. Remember those other detectors, the super expensive ones? The hardware for this little talisman cost just 2,000 new Taiwan dollars per unit.
That's about 60 US dollars. 60! It's incredible!
Then there's the time they saved. By using an AI assistant to help them code, they figured they cut out a massive 896 hours of programming work. To put that in perspective, that's like having an extra full-time developer on the team for over 5 months.
So what does all that add up to in terms of money? Well, just by building their first 5 devices, 5 of them, they saved the government over 1.6 million new Taiwan dollars. The return on that tiny initial investment is it's off the charts.
And when you actually put them head-to-head, it's not even a fair fight. The commercial detector just gets demolished. Cost? High versus $60. Portability? Bulky versus pocket size. Features? A single beep versus AI, IoT, and automated logging. Durability? Fragile versus rugged. The DIY Talisman won hands down in every single category.
An idea this good, this effective, it's not going to stay secret for long. And it didn't. The story of the digital talisman was too powerful to stay locked up at the port. Word started to spread, and pretty soon, some really serious institutions were knocking on their door. The Kaohsiung Chonggung Memorial Hospital started using the devices to monitor their advanced proton therapy centers for cancer treatment, and Chonggung University began using them for research in medical imaging and radiation science. Think about that. This little device born on a shipping dock was now playing a role in cutting-edge medicine.
And it didn't stop with just sharing the device. The team started sharing their knowledge. Starting in 2022, they were invited to give lectures at top hospitals, universities, and even the Nuclear Safety Commission itself. They literally became the experts, teaching the very same people who first approved their device. How cool is that?
You know, in the end, a line from their own report just nails it perfectly. They achieved a true win-win, making inspections more efficient while also guaranteeing the safety of the people doing the work. That's the dream outcome for any innovation.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? You've got a small team of dedicated public servants who saw a problem up close, and instead of waiting, they solved it. They solved a $1 million problem with a $60 gadget and a whole lot of ingenuity. It really makes you look around and wonder, right? What problems in our own lives are just waiting for someone to build a simple, brilliant digital talisman?